Pour tester justement ce projet pilote qui exercera un effet très dissuasif sur le modèle des passeurs et sur les traversées. D'une part, en ouvrant une voie d'admission légale pour des personnes ayant des liens de connexion avec le Royaume-Uni. D'autre part, en prévoyant la réadmission de ceux qui réussissent la traversée, selon le principe du 1 pour 1.
According to an Élysée Palace source, French President Emmanuel Macron has directed Sir Keir Starmer to make the perilous 21-mile journey to the UK less appealing to Channel crossing migrants. Macron, who committed to work with Britain to lower Channel crossings yesterday, hopes the Prime Minister would accept a three-part ultimatum to relieve pressure on both Dover and Calais ports. Welcome to the channel. Please subscribe to the Daily News. The French president is reportedly pressuring Starmer to crack down on illegal migrants who exploit the UK's underground economy to find work and receive welfare benefits. He also wants Britain to facilitate family reunification for genuine asylum seekers as part of the agreement. The British must also address these issues, an Élysée insider told The Telegraph. During his speech at the Palace of Westminster, Macron promised to lead an Anglo-French response to the situation, referring to migration as a clear issue. The French president, who also described Brexit as deeply regrettable, said, France and the United Kingdom share a responsibility to address irregular migration with humanity, solidarity, and fairness. Addressing MPs and peers, Macron stated that France would finally take a firm stand on the small boat issue. However, tales of a one-in, one-out deal stoked fears of a new migrant influx. According to Lucy Morton of the Immigration Service Union, whenever there is a new policy, we have seen it time and time again, people smugglers try to push migrants across, saying, go now before it is too late. Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp also called the proposal a migrant merry-go-round, insisting that deportation is the only effective deterrent. He stated, anything less than 100% of arrivals being returned directly will not work. Several EU member states are also promoting a one-in, one-out agreement across the Channel. Italy, Greece, and Spain are among the EU states concerned that the proposal could lead to an influx of migrants in the Mediterranean under the Dublin Convention. Despite accusations that France wants the UK to crack down on its black market, Home Secretary Yvette Cooper unveiled steps last week to stop asylum seekers from working illegally. Negotiations on a prospective cross-channel accord, however, came only days after GB News reported that the Prime Minister oversaw the arrival of 44,000 Channel crossing migrants on British beaches during his first year in power. The figure was 40% more than the 31,000 who made the same journey during Rishi Sunak's final year as PM. Migration isn't the only issue on the table. Macron and Starmer are also scheduled to discuss defence and trade later today. During yesterday's speech at the Palace of Westminster, the French president cracked a few jokes about his close relationship with the royal family. Macron mocked the French Revolution of 1789, stating, I have to confess that we love monarchy, especially when it's not at home. During yesterday night's state banquet at Windsor Castle, King Charles also addressed unlawful migration. The monarch added, our security services and police will go even further to protect us against the profound challenges of terrorism, organized crime, cyber attacks, and, of course, irregular migration across the English Channel. And our companies will collaborate to drive growth, trade, and investment in our countries and around the world. Macron's first day in the UK ended with a state banquet with Sir Mick Jagger and Sir Elton John. Emmanuel Macron has shown an especially cordial relationship with Keir Starmer during the French president's official visit this week. During the first tour by an EU member state leader since the Brexit referendum in 2016, Downing Street made it plain that its relationship with France is stronger than ever. Will a new agreement to reduce the number of illegal migrants crossing the English Channel be reached as a result of No. 10's visit? Prior to Starmer and Macron's simultaneous press appearance this afternoon, it appears that the specifics of a new, one-in, one-out arrangement are being hammered out behind closed doors. Greetings from the channel. To assist us in improving, kindly like and comment. Regards. Here's a sneak glimpse at what they'll probably reveal. On Thursday, Starmer and Macron intend to implement a one-in, one-out returns policy. At first, it would enable the weekly repatriation of up to 50 small boat migrants who entered the UK through the English Channel. These migrants would be sent back to locations outside of France's northern coast. They would be identified using biometric data and deported if they made another attempt to enter the UK. The Times reports that by the end of 2025, an experimental project plans to repatriate some 800 refugees to France. The strategy will be intensified after it has demonstrated efficacy. It goes without saying that France requires something in return for accepting more refugees, and cash is not enough. As long as they have a family connection in the UK has agreed to take the same number of French asylum seekers. A further crackdown on illegal migrant labour in the UK is also expected to be announced by starmer, which is often seen in France as a pull factor for individuals who are prepared to make the treacherous journey across the Channel. To verify their right to live and work in the UK, all foreign nationals will also need a digital ID from the government's e-visa system. The check will be conducted by immigration enforcement officers using mobile biometric tools. In exchange for greater funds from the UK to fund more police patrols on beaches, France can offer to stop migrant boats at sea. The Prime Minister is expected to claim that the plan will help achieve his prior objective of smashing the people smuggling gangs and stop people from trying to cross the Channel. However, only 1 out of every 17 migrants will be deported over the short trial period, if crossings continue at the current rate. An average of 843 migrants have entered the UK every week since Labour's election. That adds up to an incredible 43,842 in total. Labour hopes to deflate Reform UK's sales by stopping the boats as they attempt to win back the favour of voters after a lacklustre first year in office. If successful, this agreement might be a great way to highlight Reform leader Nigel Farage and his right-wing party's strong immigration restrictions. Approval of the plan would mark the first time France has consented to the repatriation of refugees since the crisis started in 2018. Millions of pounds are anticipated to be spent by the British taxpayer. Processing centres in France, legal expenses, transportation, and security costs will all be paid for by taxpayers. This is on top of the £770 million the UK has granted France to stop the ongoing influx of illegal migrants into the country over the past 12 years. France is also worried that it may become into a return hub for refugees. According to EU asylum laws, member states must send illegal migrants back to the first EU nation they entered, but other member states have already voiced their reluctance since they do not want to take in people the UK has rejected. Not to mention the potential legal challenges from migrants or the practical problems that might arise. This pact would ensure that 94% of illegal migrants crossing the Channel will be allowed to stay, stated Chris Philp, the Shadow Home Minister for the Conservatives. Nobody will be deterred by that pitiful behaviour. The Rwanda deterrent, on the other hand, would have prevented anyone from crossing the Channel by removing all illegal migrants. The failure of Keir Starmer persists. Since Labour's election, Keir Starmer says he has deported more people in 9 months than the Rwanda programme would have in 8 decades. The Conservatives' intention to send suspected illegal migrants to Rwanda was rescinded by the government once it came to power. Over 24,000 people who had no legal right to be in the UK have been deported since July, according to the Prime Minister, who said today that they are still able to deport a significant number of other migrants. This is the highest rate of return in 8 years, Starmer said during his speech at the 2-day organised Immigration Crime Summit in London, which was attended by officials from over 40 international partners. Number 10 claims that 4 of the biggest returning charter flights in UK history, carrying more than 850 passengers, had been overseen by the government. "We are diverting funds from the Tories' wasting Rwanda project," the Prime Minister said. The removal of only 4 volunteers would have cost taxpayers £700 million. Even with a successful plan, they claim to be able to remove 300 persons annually. It would have taken the Rwandan system 80 years to finish, but since we took power, we have repatriated over 24,000 people who had no right to be here. When I say don't fall for gimmicks, I mean that. Of the 24,103 returns, 3,594 were offenders who were foreign nationals, 6,781 were returns linked to asylum, and 6,339 were forced returns of individuals who had no legal right to stay in the UK. Additionally, according to the Prime Minister, Monday's meeting was the biggest to bring together nations from different smuggling routes to discuss the problem. He claimed that concrete proposals are now available and that serious problems call for serious responses. He claimed that because illegal migration is a massive driver of global insecurity, smuggling is a global security issue that needs to be addressed with a coordinated effort, much like terrorism. Starmer continued by stating, "It makes me upset, really, because it is unjust to ordinary working people who pay the price, from the expense of hotels to our public services, which are under strain. Additionally, it is unjust to the illegal migrants themselves, as they are weak individuals who are being brutally taken advantage of by gangs." The government is open to offshore arrangements for processing asylum, which is in line with the Rwanda plan, according to Border Security Minister Angela Eagle, who made this statement after speaking to Sky News. The government was still disappointed with the number of migrant boats that were coming into UK ports, she also admitted. "Of course, we're disappointed," she said. "This is partly because each boat has more passengers, which makes them riskier and more careless. However, as we have just been in office for 8 months, these people traffickers have been able to establish themselves over the channel and have developed highly skilled international networks over the past 6 years. By working with others from different jurisdictions, even operationally, we will destroy them. However, we need time to complete everything, and we need gatherings like these to foster teamwork and increase productivity." A bill pertaining to immigration, asylum, and border security is also being worked on by the government. The Commons is considering legislation that would criminalize anyone who endanger lives at sea, seize the phones of migrants, and identify smugglers.